In the heart of a bustling city, there was a mysterious train station that no one seemed to know much about. It was tucked away between two tall buildings, almost hidden from view, and no one could remember ever seeing a train there. Locals called it the Station of Lost Souls, because it was said that only those who had lost their way in life could find it. There were whispers of strange things happening there, but most people chose to ignore them. Ethan, a young man who had recently lost his job and his sense of direction in life, was feeling particularly lost one evening. He had spent months looking for work, but nothing seemed to come through. His confidence was at an all-time low, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stuck in an ever-ending cycle of failure. That night, as he walked aimlessly through the city streets, he found himself at the entrance of the mysterious station. At first, he thought he must have taken a wrong turn. The station wasn't on any map, and the area around it was completely empty. The station building itself was old, with peeling paint and a rusted sign that read, "The last train to nowhere." A strange chill ran down his spine as he gazed at the dark platform. The dim light from the station's lamps flickered, casting eerie shadows across the tracks. Feeling a strange pull, Ethan stepped inside. The air smelled musty, as if the place had been abandoned for years. There were no other passengers, and no staff in sight. He walked up to the ticket counter, but the window was closed. He looked around, unsure of what to do next. Just then, a voice echoed through the station, though no one was nearby. "Looking for something?" the voice asked. Ethan jumped, his heart racing. He turned around, but saw no one. The voice was deep and soothing, almost like a whisper on the wind. "I am not sure," Ethan stammered. I don't know where I'm going anymore." The voice seemed to smile, though Ethan couldn't see its source. "Perhaps this is the place you've been looking for." Before he could respond, the sound of a train whistle filled the air. Ethan turned to see a sleek, silver train pulling up to the platform. It was unlike any train he had ever seen. No logos or markings, just a smooth, gleaming surface that seemed to glow in the dim light of the station. The train doors opened, and a conductor appeared at the entrance. He wore an old-fashioned uniform, his face hidden in the shadows of his cap. He nodded at Ethan, signaling for him to board. Is this the last train?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The conductor smiled, his eyes glinting in the low light. "It's the last train for those who need to find their way." Ethan didn't know why, but something deep inside him told him that this was his chance. Without thinking, he stepped onto the train. As soon as he did, the doors shut behind him, and the train began to move. The interior of the train was unlike any other he had seen. The seats were plush and comfortable, and the windows showed scenes of places he had never been: forests, mountains, and oceans. The train seemed to be traveling through time and space, not following any known route. Ethan settled into a seat, trying to make sense of what was happening. The train moved in silence, save for the occasional whispering voice that seemed to come from nowhere. At times, Ethan could hear faint laughter or soft murmurs, as though the train was filled with people, yet he was alone. After what felt like hours, the train slowed to a stop. The conductor appeared once again, gesturing for Ethan to follow him. He stepped off the train into a vast, empty field under a starlit sky. The air was cool, and the stars shone brighter than Ethan had ever seen before. "This is where you'll find your path," the conductor said. "But only you can choose whether to stay or leave." Ethan looked around. There were no signs of civilization, only open space and a sense of tranquility that he had never experienced before. For the first time in months, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The overwhelming pressure he had carried for so long seemed to dissolve. "But what am I supposed to do here?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. The conductor gave him a thoughtful look. "This place isn't about what you do, it's about who you become. You've been so focused on finding the right job, the right direction, that you've forgotten who you really are. Take this time to rediscover yourself." As the conductor's words sank in, Ethan realized that this was exactly what he needed. The train had taken him to a place where he could pause, breathe, and find clarity. He wasn't sure where the journey would lead, but for the first time in a long while, he felt hopeful. The conductor smiled. "You can return to the station whenever you need. But remember, sometimes the best way to find your way is to stop and take a moment to listen." With that, the train faded into the distance, leaving Ethan standing in the field beneath the stars. He knew that, no matter what came next, He had taken the first step toward finding himself again.